What are some mental health issues that affect seniors?
Well, interestingly, we deal with when it comes to diagnosis, mainly with depression and anxiety. But it's a lot of times the patients come in with there's a transition of living, maybe from home to a nursing home or to assisted living, maybe a possibility of a medical issue that's come up, a lot of grief and loss also with them, and sometimes there's a lot of family issues. And so we work with our seniors to help them through those processes, through those transitions. While they're with us, a lot of times they have other things that come up at the same time, and so we're able to walk through that with them. Um, they We've noticed here just in the last few months that we've had a lot more people with coming in that are having panic disorder, which is interesting for this age group, is what our doctor says. Because it's not as prevalent, but seems like it's been showing up more with them after age 65 that they've had it all their lives and didn't know it and was able to deal with it in a certain way, and now all of a sudden they don't know what to do with it. So it's been very interesting in that case.
Has COVID-19 increased anxiety for seniors?
Some of it is. Some of it started before that. They just didn't know. But due to the pandemic, it seems like the patients that we have more so with the anxiety disorders and with like panic disorder, those are the ones that when all this first started, they've really had a lot of anxiety, a lot more overwhelmed feelings. More, especially the isolation, has really gotten to them. So we've had to really work with them on that and assure them, allowing them to have a little more social interaction and connection, like through this. And some of them are still coming to the program from our community, and so we've been able to do that in person. And we're the only person that they see throughout the week a lot of times. So.
How are seniors adjusting to telehealth or other digital forms of care?
So far, they've all been able to do that. The ones that don't come in person, now the ones that come in person, if we were to do it with them at telehealth, they probably wouldn't be able to do it very well. We've got some in their 90s that are doing it with us, and so they're able to, and some in their 80s, and they've got a computer, or they've got a phone, so they've been very good at doing that. But we do have some in the nursing home and the assisted living that we see. And basically it's on lockdown, but we're able to go in and take a tablet to them and set it up for them. So they're able to still get that therapy session with us.
What are some tips for coping with anxiety?
We've just encouraged them to go outside 20 minutes. Now that it's spring and the sun is shining, they need to get that sunshine just from the benefits from that, even if all they're doing is, sitting on the porch. The other thing is trying to get them to have a schedule. So even in the nursing home, they can still have a schedule. And so we've recommended and try to encourage them to, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this in the morning. I'm going to do this at lunch. Just having that set because things are so unsettling right now, and so it gives them some stability that way. And then also those that are able to just make phone calls, connect with people, even if it's friends from a long time ago, family members that they don't get to see anyway. Try to connect with them as much as possible. And I know a lot of families are doing the Zoom and being able to have family meetings and stuff. And those that are able to do that seem to be doing pretty well with that. The others, we just make sure that they're calling people and just trying to stay connected that way.